My name is Tracy Celio, and I'm the project manager for University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources. And I'm here today with Kaylin Burns, who will co-present with me to talk more about Business Builder in Utah and what that will look like. So I'm going to jump into my slides here and talk a little bit about the regional food business centers. In our region, our center covers California, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. And we are funded at $35 million over a 5-year window. Our program will go to 2028, and we sure hope that the program will continue after 2028. As Karen mentioned, we're part of a larger regional food business center program across the country that includes 12 centers, including one intertribal food business center that serves the entire country. We focus on coordination between organizations, technical assistance, and capacity building. And I'll talk through each one of those pillars in detail in just a bit. But just to kind of give you an overview, our funder is USDA, and then the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources is the lead cooperator. So that means we administer the award program. And then Utah, one of our partners. And we have amazing folks at Utah State University and the Utah Department of Ag that you met earlier this morning or this afternoon. And they're doing, the boots on the ground work there in Utah. The first pillar I want to talk through is coordination. And this is really getting information to the small businesses and farmers that need it, finding out about different funding opportunities, whether they're other federal opportunities, whether it's sharing what's happening across your state or even across our region, so that folks aren't recreating the wheel, but we're really learning from each other and able to share out those best practices. We're also, have a newsletter that goes out quarterly that we ask folks to join that will share events, it will share funding opportunities, it will share information about what partners are up to, but just really great ways to engage and learn with us. We also have quarterly webinars, and those are on different topics. The next one we have coming up is on April 16th, and our focus is on small farms and ag tech. So if that's an area of interest, go to our website and please sign up and join us for that. The second pillar is that technical assistance. And so you met your business navigators, your technical assistance providers in Utah earlier. They provide direct hands-on technical assistance to growers, farms, and food businesses. And that can be anywhere along the supply chain to help you with maybe business development, maybe accessing different awards, but really they're there to directly support small businesses. And then the last thing, and what we're really going to focus on today, is that capacity building. And so this is our Business Builder Awards. And what that looks like is direct competitive awards that have an open request for applications. And in Utah, like Karen mentioned, these are open until the 26th of this month. And these really are for business expansion and business growth. And so the awards can pay for things like planning activities, staff time, software implementation, even the purchasing of special equipment. The really important thing to note is that it must be post-harvest activities. And so what we would not pay for are things like maybe hoop houses or anything that's really growing related or on-farm development, but think of everything that's post-harvest gate to reach new markets. That's really what these awards are focused on. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Kaylin to talk through priority areas that are specific to Utah.
All righty, guys. So, and Tracy, thank you. Again, the specific focus is really geared towards post-harvest activities. Now, this can be if we're on a farm, for example, anything from produce washers to packaging and labeling materials. Same thing with meat packing plants. If you guys want to expand cold storage, these are all focuses that we're really tied into in Utah. We did a needs assessment last year, and some of the big things that came up was the availability of storage, especially cold storage facilities for fresh produce and refrigerated processed foods. Other projects that we are really focused on trying to get in is the production of value-added agricultural products, especially those that diversify the current market. And this includes, but is not limited to, expanding agritourism opportunities, new or expanded processing capacities. For example, bottling of fruits or acidified foods and meat processing. The anticipated award range, we are estimating trying to get out about $400,000 in funding this go round. The infrastructural projects will reach more producers and have wide range impact, increasing market access and goods moving into the local food system. So who can apply? Some people that we're looking to apply are agricultural producers, ranchers, value-added producers, aggregators, distributors, processors, food hubs, cooperatives, nonprofit organizations, retailers, farmers markets. There's a vast array of people that can apply to this grant funding, but you have to be an established business and located and primarily serving the Utah population. We put emphasis on organizations that live in or serve underserved or distressed communities. As you can see, there are a couple links, and those are both on the Southwest Regional Food Business Center and our site as well. They go to the distressed zip codes and socially vulnerable index. Those are basically communities that the USDA deems as struggling. If you reside within one of those communities, then obviously a higher priority is going to be put towards your application. Small businesses that gross annual sales less than 350,000 all the way up to 1 million is kind of the range that we're looking for. You're welcome to apply in conjunction with multiple businesses. That's not a problem at all. Just make sure that you put it under one entity. So this is kind of our award schedule. It opened on December 26th. Applications are currently due February 26th. That's going to be our cutoff point. And then we'll do an internal review process. Currently, I have the ability to access and review the current applications. I'm the one that will be reaching out to you if there is something that's not permissible on your application, or if there's something that needs to be adjusted or fixed, up to the 26th. And then it will go through an internal review process where we will have a review board go over the applications and pick the top ones. And that will happen from March 1st to April 1st. And then after the top ones are selected, it will go up to the USDA, and that award period will start from June 1st all the way till May 30th of 2026. So some examples of eligible products. It's kind of a vast array. When it comes to the business aspects that we are trying to focus on, is going to be the business planning, feasibility studies, market analysis, brand development, marketing materials. Again, things that are really focused on trying to expand existing businesses. We can help with product developing, labeling, packaging, food safety compliance training, and planning, value chain coordination, salaries, operating costs, and equipment vehicles. Now, there are a couple caveats with that. With the salaries, you do have to prove that the employee is actively diversifying the market or otherwise meeting Utah's objectives that we covered. With the equipment and vehicles, we are currently seeking clarification on that as to whether or not it's going to be leasing or the vehicles have to be purchased outright. As soon as we get some further insight, then I can go ahead and answer any questions related to equipment and vehicles. When it comes to equipment and vehicles, you can also get cold storage vehicles, reefers, other things that have built-in cold storage in transport so that we can move this food and reach out further to our constituents in Utah. In terms of equipment, again, the main focus is going to be cold storage, both for individuals and for central shared storage. Refrigerated transportation, as I said, aggregation centers for product and equipment, and processing centers for meat, poultry, and canning. Ineligible applicants or uses. Anyone who has received other funding from the business builder or any regional food business center in excess of 100,000. So it doesn't matter which business center you go through, the cap on funding is going to be 100,000 across the board. So if you went through our regional food business center and then went to another one, let's say in Idaho, between the two, the max that you can get from those is 100,000. Applicants who have received funding for the same or similar expenses. So again, we want to diversify the funding pools and make sure that it's going towards the maximum amount of benefit that we can get. Any costs associated with agricultural production inputs. And again, we kind of went over that. So all your drip lines, hoop houses, anything that's not related to post-harvest activities and is more tied towards agricultural production is not going to be an allowable expense. Oh, and construction projects. So anything that requires breaking ground per the USDA will not be permitted. So how to apply? This is the application checklist. And there is a QR code that will take you straight to the application. Ensure that your business fits the criteria and is a good fit for funding. So all the information that we just went over, make sure that it fits that criteria. Note the deadlines and give yourself plenty of time to complete all documents. Again, cutoff is going to be the 26th, so make sure to get it in as quickly as possible so I have a chance to review it. Make sure you have a UEI or a unique entity identifier with SAM.gov. That process can take up to a couple weeks, so the sooner you guys get it in, the better it's going to be. And then prepare the application. Go through the application template, the budget template, work plan and timeline template, and then consult with your tax preparer to ensure that you understand any applications related to and receiving award. And then with the unique entity identifier, it's a 12-character alphanumeric value. Usually contains both letters and numbers. It's assigned, managed, and owned by the federal government. It validates existence and uniqueness of entity. And you got to make sure that you register it publicly. Otherwise, we cannot confirm the UEI number. There are video tutorials available on SAM.gov's website that will walk you through the process and how to do that. And note again that it can take up to 2 weeks before it becomes active. With that said, if you can prove that you submitted an application for a UEI, let's say even a screenshot or something like that I can upload to the application, we can push it through for review.
Okay, back to me. So we'll do a quick overview of materials. This is what the application template looks like. We tried to keep this very simple, so this is not going to be a lengthy grant application. We like to think of this as an entry point for very small food and farm businesses. And so we kept this application. It's literally 3 pages. There's about 2,000 characters that you can input to tell your project story, and then put together your budget and work plan. This shows you just a quick what the budget worksheet looks like. What's not on the screenshot are the cells where you'd put in, what exactly your project expenses are. So this is where you'd put down, any of your receipts or planned purchases. So if you're buying refrigerators, all of that would go in this. And then last is the work plan and timeline. And basically what we want to see is who's responsible for the activity, when is it going to occur, and what is the activity. So just a simple accounting of what the overall plan is. To submit the application, really simple. This is on our website. There's a big pink rectangle that reads apply now or reads begin application. And you'll just click on that and go through the responses. It's basically an online form. And you'll upload that budget template document. You'll upload the work plan and timeline and then submit. I highly recommend that you put together all of your materials, maybe in a Word or Google Doc, and then just cut and paste it into this form submission. So then the reporting process, the relationship between the awardee and University of California Ag and Natural Resources will administer the award. So once folks are selected and awarded, that we'll work together on a 90-day reimbursable invoice. And that's also the same time that folks will report what their activities are, turn in any receipts. There will be additional training for all of those incoming businesses that are going to be working through the award process so that we can really train folks on how to submit invoices and how to work with us. So we'll be with you to supply that technical support as well through the award process. All of the process will be submitted online. And like I mentioned earlier, our goal is that it's an easy process. And I'm going to turn this one back over to Kaylin to go through some FAQs and what you might expect for next steps.
All righty. So we're just going to go over some FAQs before we get to the Q&A. Hopefully this answers some questions that can come up. First is, can I receive upfront payment from the award? These awards are mostly reimbursable funds, meaning you pay the expenses upfront and then submit receipts, and then we reimburse you on those costs. We review and approve the documentation, then issue the payment after the fact. Be aware that it may take up to about 4 weeks in order for that process to happen. So be sure to get your receipts in as quickly as possible for one, and two, make sure to plan ahead so that funding, so that you can anticipate that funding coming in approximately 4 weeks. Will I have to report my activities if awarded? The answer is yes. If you receive a Business Builder Award, you are entering into an agreement where you commit to perform the activities in your application in order to receive the awarded funds. You'll be required to sign an award letter and report on these activities outlined. Reporting will include proof of purchases, so keep your receipts, and you will make what the purchases you make with the award funds and report outcomes of your award funded activities. So we want a post-action report of whatever the funding goes towards. Will I have to pay taxes on the award? I believe, Business Builder Awards are considered taxable income. So yes, you will have to pay an income tax on this, depending on the tax status. Award recipients will receive a W-2. Subawardees should consult a tax professional because individual circumstances are very unique. You can find more information at farmers.gov under the taxes for farmers and ranchers. Are organizations that are fiscally sponsored by a nonprofit eligible to apply? No, applications must not be submitted by a fiscal agent. Subawards are paid from UC ANR, to the recipient, meaning a nonprofit organization could apply and receive funding, or an individual can apply for and receive an award, but not a nonprofit may submit on behalf of the business or entity. It has to be the business or entity itself that is applying. How are applications evaluated? All Business Builder competitive awards are reviewed according to the scoring criteria. Can I apply for one or can I apply for more than one Business Builder grant? Yes, but there is a limit on the total value of awards that any one business can apply towards. Again, the cap across the board is 100,000. I'm a producer processor, not a nonprofit. Can I still receive a grant? Yes, we are providing Business Builder grants to those that are working through a food supply chain, including but not limited to producers, processors, intermediaries, and distributors. I've received other grants from the USDA. Can I still apply for a Business Builder grant? The answer is yes. There's no limit on other non-Business Builder grants that you may receive from the USDA or other sources. Grants cannot be used to fund the same work. So again, we're trying to diversify the projects, purchases or activities with multiple grants. Each grant must have its own work plan and deliverables. Multiple grants are allowed for people or for different phases of a project. So this is our contact information. Again, you can contact me directly at foodbiz@usu.edu, and you can follow us on Facebook at Utah Food and Farm Business Program. And then Tracy, it also had your contact information in case you want to share.
And I'm happy to share that in the chat as well. And then we'll open for Q&A.
Thank you. I think that was really informative. This question, I think we'll let Tracy respond to it. But is the funding for this grant safe from being eliminated by the current administration after they have been awarded?
I can only tell you, as I have been updated, that we are not on any stop work order at this time, and have been told business as usual. I can't really speak to future changes, but that's what we've been communicated from the USDA.
Okay. Then another question is, can you define established business a little bit more?
Typically, established business were 1 to 2 years of being in business. However, being a new business is not going to preclude you from receiving an award. But what we're wanting is really to, find out more about what your business background is and what your future plans are.
Okay, and then for salary costs, what is the best way to prove that a staff member is actively diversifying the market?
It's a great question, and I would put that as the applicant. Your role or your goal is to demonstrate the need. So perhaps I am unable to hire this, or I am unable to staff this position unless I receive this funding. And this funding would allow a hired staff to, I'll give an example, work at a farmer's market booth while I am harvesting back on site. So that allows you to, maximize your business potential by hiring that additional staff. So it really is up to you to tell the story of how adding staff would assist your business.
Okay. And then Kaylin, I have a question.
Sure.
If people, you went through a lot of different things like the unique identifier and some of those other things and stuff. Can we, if they have questions specifically on that or need some help over the next few days, is the best thing to just email that foodbiz@usu.edu, and then you can help them directly, or also put them in touch with one of the other TAs that were introduced in the previous talk?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm actually actively helping a number of people get their UEIs. The best thing to do is email that foodbiz@usu.edu email. That will let me know, and then I can assign that out to my uh, business advisors who can sit down and work with you through the process. They know where all the tutorial videos are. They can sit down with you and help you directly.
Okay, that's great. And then also, it might be a little bit difficult to get this information and just kind of come up with all the questions that you have until you actually get into the application. Because no matter how simple something is supposed to be, I know that I don't underestimate my personal ability to still find it confusing. And so I think just keep that email address, foodbusiness@usu.edu, because that is really the best way to not just get access to information and questions that you might have as you start going through and actually filling out the application, but any other resources that you need related to this area. And so that's going to be an easy one to remember. And really the idea is to have one access point that you can get to everything else. And so we can direct you, because that is Kalen's mission in life, is just to direct you to wherever you need help. And he really likes to help people. So feel free to use that. And then Tracy also, I noticed, put her an address in the chat. So look at that. And then I also in the chat put a link directly to the Utah Business Builder Award website. So you can get, some of those things that Tracy was bringing up and were brought up earlier, like the link to click here to start your application and some of those other, forms that you might need to download. But it is going to take a little bit of time, but it is still doable to put an application together between now and February 26th. I think that's the main message we want to do. And I noticed there was a question in chat, but in case people missed that was answered, this funding is just for Utah businesses.